Hey, let's make something. Today, the dishes for this feast we're gonna have. So these are just some odds and ends from sets of cheap clear plastic and white plastic dollhouse dishes. You can find those online pretty cheaply. They're nice to have. Sometimes I make molds of some of them to copy them out of resin. But they usually have little rough plastic edges, so here I'm using a knife to remove some, sanding it down. And sanding it down makes it dull, but then you can bring that shine back with some clear varnish. This is a little punch bowl. Here I'm roughing up this clear plastic frying pan so I can make it look like cast iron instead of glass, I guess it's supposed to be. And for the white plastic, I decided that I would use my chrome, liquid chrome is the name of this paint pen, and just color them silver. I wasn't sure if they'd come out really shiny like silver or more dull like pewter, but I figured either way, that was great. And this, yes, I'm painting it black, just regular acrylic paint, which it looks a little thin, but once I painted both sides, it really looked good. And little odds and ends of wood from other projects, stirring sticks. I made some cutting boards. I'll talk about those more in a minute. Here I'm cutting coffee stir sticks, and using double-sided tape, I'm sticking them to chapstick to make a barrel. Yes, I'm staining all these woods different colors. That's just for visual interest, really, so they look like they're made of different woods. I gave them another coat of stain later. Here I'm using the paint pen to make little silver dots along the edge of these two glass bowls. Not sure if I like that, how that came out, but it's okay. And yeah, I used some dry brushed, just silver acrylic paint at the bottom and around the edges of this cast iron pan to make it look like the seasoning had been worn away, that black seasoning, so you see some of the metallic iron underneath. And now I'm making dishes out of polymer clay. This is Fimo Soft. It's white, so I'm using baking paper to try to keep it white. It's very hard to avoid getting dust and dirt on white clay. And here's the technique I used for all the dishes. I'm going to show it to you in the circular one, the more elaborate, and then the oval. And yes, this is just that chapstick again, which is good because it has a nice smooth cap. So basically you cut a circle, and then you push it through a smaller circle on something like this, a stencil like this. And then it, as you can see, the center dips down just like a real plate would. Here I'm making a decorative border, which came out really well, I thought. Yeah, the oval one, just using a knife to cut that out. This was a little harder because I didn't have anything oval sized to press down in the center to make it nice and smooth all at once. So what I decided to do was use the smooth end of an X-Acto knife and just sort of press down in the middle. You might notice I have two fingers bandaged now, and now I'm talking about knives. Do not worry. This happened while I was washing dishes. This is not during the crafts. This worked out pretty well. You can see the indentations of the end of the handle, which is annoying, but I figured I would be able to sand that later. Here's all the pieces. You can see some of the edges will need to be sanded, but that's all very possible. Now these have been sanded, smoothed, but they're not shiny. They're that chalky look, and you can see the lumps and bumps to them. But adding a layer of UV resin and setting that gives it that very shiny, vitreous glaze that you see on ceramic. And it helps smooth out imperfections as well, which is great. Anything to hide those little flaws, you know? I always use cheap paintbrushes from the dollar store for this because I find it's really hard to wash the resin out of them. So you kind of have to throw them away after a project, which is a shame. Man, don't they look shiny? You can still see some of the lumps and bumps, yes, but they look so much better. And here I'm just using some gold wire, and I marked out where I wanted the layers to be. And I had 3 dishes in 3 different sized circles. And I drilled a hole using that drill you saw me use earlier on the wood, just to make sure each plate had a hole through the center. And then I used super glue to make one of those layered trays, which I think came out really well. I was afraid it would look crooked, but you can see I'm turning it in every direction, trying to make sure it's straight before the glue sets. So it was a fiddly process, but I'm really glad with the result. Trusty dollar store clamps. I use those all the time. I was pleasantly surprised that the super glue set so fast. It is super glue, but it feels like anytime you need it to set really fast, it just won't. But I got lucky. And I made a little base for that cake stand. I didn't show that, but it was just pinching a little blob into a point and then cutting off the point at the top. That was it. And here I'm making a gilded edge using a gold paint pen. I really love these paint pens. They're not water-based. I guess maybe they're oil-based because they do take a little time to dry, but they have such a beautiful shine. In a second, you'll see a gravy boat that I thought I recorded making, but I unfortunately did not. It was just an oval of black clay pinched around a metal ball to make a gravy boat shape. But now you can see everything. Ceramic, cast iron, silver, wood. There's the barrel, there's a gravy boat. And next time, I hope you'll join me because we're going to start making the food.